Good Friday morning, and thank you for joining us here on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Jason Hackett. Let's get to your headlines. This morning, we are still under a KARE 11 weather impact alert because of what you're seeing here. Nasty haze from Canadian wildfires has settled in across most of Minnesota, making our air quality plummet. And that air is actually creeping as far down south as St. Louis. You can see it there, making the iconic arch a little fuzzy on that live camera. We're going to check in with our weather team in just a little bit. But first, we need to catch you up on a big road closure that's happening just hours away in the North Metro. MnDOT is wrapping up its mega maintenance project on 694 this weekend. But to do it, they're shutting down more than 6 miles of interstate starting tonight. So check out this map. Last month, they worked on the westbound lanes, but now the eastbound lanes of 694 will close from Brooklyn Center all the way to Arden Hills. That is a large stretch. Audrey Russo's in the North Metro with when ramps are going to start closing down.
At 7 o'clock, MnDOT is going to start closing down the on and off ramps to the eastbound side of 694 along this project area. They want to make sure that they are starting to clear the highway of cars so things are safe for maintenance workers. And then at 10 p.m., the roadway portion of this project area will shut down. Here's a look at the map so you guys have a closer look at exactly where I'm talking about. The closures run from the eastbound side of 694 from Shingle Creek Parkway in Brooklyn Center all the way to Snelling Ave in Arden Hills. So this is going to affect drivers in Fridley, Columbia Heights, New Brighton, if your weekend plans take you around the highway. Eastbound access from the cross streets will also be closed off. And MnDOT is doing this so they can restripe pavement, repair bridge decks, scrub graffiti, really an all-encompassing roadway project. Now, the project area will reopen by 5 o'clock on Monday, so fortunately this isn't going to take too long. And for more information on detours, you can also head to 511. They've got a whole map for you there. Back to you.
Audrey, thank you very much. Happening right now across the East Coast, intense rain causing flash flooding. There was so much water that you see here. It started to leak directly into New York City subways, drenching subway cars. Parts of New Jersey and Pennsylvania are under a state of emergency because of all that flooding. And then in Maryland, water rising so fast it caught this vehicle as it was driving down the street. You can see the water making it up past the tires and some of that water trying to drain down the manhole. We know one child has died after he was swept away by floodwaters into a storm drain. Dozens of people were also rescued from their homes while that water was rising. Back here at home, the St. Paul City Council is holding an emergency meeting over the lunch hour to extend its state of emergency due to the city's cyber attack. The latest update from the mayor says they are working to take systems offline and make them manual again, like the library systems and the payroll.
Our city is alive. Our city services are active. We do continue to have back-end software challenges that we are working through, and we continue to have city employees who are committed to working through every single challenge.
Mayor Carter would not or could not say who was behind the attack, or whether there was any ransom demanded, when all city networks will be back up, or even if city employee or public data was stolen. He also says the public wasn't alerted last Friday when they discovered the attack because they wanted to investigate and secure what they could before going public with it. Well, have you seen a statue of St. Paul Olympian Suni Lee? Police say someone stole it from Lake Phalen and they haven't been able to track down where it is. Such a weird story here. St. Paul police say this happened overnight going into Thursday. They say the stone plaque in front of the statue was found in the lake, but there was no sign of the statue itself. Police say there is a police camera in the area and they're hoping it captured whoever committed the crime. This morning, we're hearing from some of the passengers on that Delta flight that made an emergency landing at MSP after severe turbulence injured dozens of people. 25 people, including 7 crew members, were hospitalized. But this morning, there is good news. None of the injuries were serious, and everyone who shared their status with Delta is out of the hospital. And that's incredible considering what happened once the plane hit rough air.
This was nothing like we've ever experienced. We really thought that this was going to tear the plane apart. The flight attendant, she flew up into the air and the people around her grabbed her and held her down.
There was one girl toward the back that was standing up and she flew up, hit the ceiling and then came down and landed on somebody, broke her ribs.
Wow, that is absolutely wild. Delta says it operated a special flight last night from Minneapolis to Amsterdam so passengers could continue their travel. New this morning, Boeing is facing new lawsuits from Alaska Airlines crew members over the panel blowout that happened on a flight back in January of 2024. That blowout left a gaping hole in the side of the Boeing 737 MAX 9 as it was more than 16,000 feet in the air. 4 flight attendants have filed separate lawsuits saying they were physically and emotionally harmed and left with financial costs related to what they experienced. They're seeking compensation for economic damages. In June, the NTSB said Boeing and the Federal Aviation Administration are to blame for the safety deficiencies that led to the accident. Boeing hasn't commented on the lawsuits. A pretty solemn anniversary today. 18 years ago, right in the middle of the evening commute, the 35W bridge collapsed into the Mississippi River, making it one of the worst tragedies in Twin Cities history. 13 people died and nearly 150 others were hurt. The scenes from that day, just horrific and also hard to forget. Now, one of the first photographers on the scene was just a college student at the time. Here's her conversation with Sunrise reporter Jennifer Austin from a couple of years ago.
Summer's very, very busy, yes, summer into fall.
Busy because in addition to photographing weddings, Stacy Banks freelances for the Associated Press.
So when I saw this for the first time, this image took my breath away. This is part of the bridge right here that fell down.
Stacy was a photographer for the U of M's student newspaper. Before she saw the collapse, she heard it.
Sitting with my roommates on the second floor of our home. We were 3 blocks north of the bridge, heard something and felt something very faint. And I went out on our balcony and I saw the part of the bridge sticking straight up.
You see it from your house?
I could see it from my house, yeah. I left instantly.
This was the first photo Stacy took down by the collapsed bridge.
And they had been lining up the injured victims on pieces of plywood, waiting to get them taken out of there. I just remember making eye contact with some people and everyone was in such shock. So I had walked up here on the bridge.
Stacy took photos until after dark.
Got the pictures on the computers and we started looking at them, and I don't think it was until then when we realized whoa, we were really down there.
A front row seat to one of Minnesota's greatest tragedies, captured on Stacy's camera, etched into her memory.
Changed me from the perspective of knowing how precious every moment is.
That is certainly true. Well, it's August 1st, and that means it's time for some new laws to kick in. So let's run down just a few of them. The new interlock law makes it mandatory for people with multiple DWIs to have a breathalyzer in their car. If they've been drinking, their car will not start. The new DWI law also extends the look-back period into your record from 10 to 20 years. The new laws are in response to the deadly crash at the Park Tavern that killed 2 people and injured others. Stephen Bailey, the man behind the wheel, had 5 prior DWIs. So some more laws here. Criminal background checks will now be required for massage providers and adult entertainment business owners. Landlords can no longer discriminate against or charge for residents who are training service dogs. And inmates participating in restorative justice programs will now have limited confidentiality, allowing them to speak freely without fear of information being shared or used against them in court. A check of the markets this morning as Wall Street reacts to another deadline extension for higher tariffs on most nations. You see the Dow there down more than 600 points. President Trump pushing that date back 1 week to August 7th. However, the president did give one of the U.S.'s main trading partners an extension on a deal. Still, Trump says he is open to negotiations. Alice Barr is in Washington with details.
Hi there. After months of threats, tensions, and negotiations, the White House formalizing new tariff rates for nearly every U.S. trading partner around the world. The higher import taxes could translate to higher prices here at home, but President Trump is pointing to billions of dollars in revenue coming into the U.S. It's deadline day for President Trump's sweeping tariffs, resetting global trade relations. He moved to formalize tariff rates of at least 10 to 15% for most countries, some soaring up to 30, 40, even 50%, now set to take effect August 7th.
We have made a few deals today that are excellent deals for the country. You know, we're taking in literally trillions of dollars for the country.
The president touting agreements with the European Union, Japan, and South Korea, though deals with other top trading partners, Canada, Mexico, and China, remain unresolved. Mexico getting a 90-day extension to keep negotiating. China's high rates pause too, with the Treasury Secretary noting significant progress toward a deal.
I'm confident that it will be done, but it's not 100% done.
But Canada, where months of trade tensions have bruised U.S. relations, still faces a punishing 35% tariff rate.
They have to pay a fair rate. It's all. It's very simple.
In a new phone interview with NBC News, President Trump saying the more than $26 billion in tariff revenue the Treasury Department reported last month is just the beginning. Though that money comes from U.S. businesses paying more to import materials and goods from abroad and often passing added costs on to customers, a concern underscored by Democrats.
It's estimated the average household pays $2,400 a year extra. That sure doesn't sound like a golden age to me.
As the president tells NBC News, the only price spiking is the hundreds of billions of dollars coming into the U.S. The president's tariff strategy faces a legal challenge in federal appeals court right now from small businesses that sued, arguing he can't impose tariffs of this magnitude without congressional approval. The case is likely destined for the Supreme Court. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Well, the Twins are back on the road tonight as they begin a new series in Cleveland, just hours after swapping several players for prospects. The biggest move here is sending Carlos Correa back to the Houston Astros. Minnesota also traded Willie Castro to the Chicago Cubs. Griffin Jax is in Tampa Bay now, and pitchers Brock Stewart and Danny Colomb to Los Angeles and Texas, respectively. If you want a full list of trades, check out this story on KARE11.com. The team will look drastically different for the rest of the season. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.